Homelessness, a way of living that used to be frowned upon by most, now being a chosen path for many folks facing the wrath of this struggling economy. Some people straight up choosing to live in their cars or jump around from spot to spot for any sense of freedom, while many being forced into limited options due to house increases and the cost of living rapidly increasing as well. Well, we're going to explore this topic today, and feel free to share your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. If you personally relate to anything in this video, or you just simply like content like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and
yesterday, I pretended to be homeless for 3 hours, and I realized that if you're homeless, you're there by choice.
Imagine that. 3 hours, and now they're an expert.
Like, you are there by choice, 100% having that experience, just the way that I chose to go experience that by choice. It's just the only difference is the stories that you're telling yourself. So if you want to experience homelessness, you want to experience what it would be like to lose everything, you can go have that experience. Or you're welcome to create a bunch of bullshit stories in your life that force you, quote unquote, force you into that experience. But even when you go by force, it's still by choice because you wanted to have that experience. You just created a bunch of excuses for what you gave your.
wow, folks. Talk about straight up rage bait. Okay, I didn't know how deep this was going to get right off the beginning, but I think straight off the jump, we are getting into some deep, deep waters. Being that this girl right here, this woman, is absolutely delusional. Not really understanding what she's talking about. She's been out there for 3 hours and probably doesn't really have to worry about it because she knows tonight she's going right back to a warm bed and a hot shower.
Self permission to have it.
Oh yes, I'm sure that's it. People subconsciously just wanted to be homeless, so they unwittingly made events happen in their lives so that they could be that way, just to fulfill that unconscious dream, right?
It's just like any other experience that we have in life. It's no worse or better than having a home. It's no, different than anything else, but the experience does show you how much you take for granted.
Did one really just say that being homeless is no worse or better than having a home? Wow. Thanks for showing the world that there are truly some individuals out there that have absolutely lived a life of privilege and have never really had to truly go without anything.
Alright, these first two videos that I'm showing to you guys are going to just straight up make you guys understand why there's this big blanket statement of why people they're not really too fond of the younger generations. Gen Z, millennials, they're looked down upon, and people like this are the reasons why. And then everybody else gets kind of summed into that same category when really not everybody's the same. There are lazy boomers, there are lazy Gen Xers, there are lazy millennials, and believe it or not, there are definitely lazy Gen Z folks. It's just the majority of them hang out online, so you see the majority of them. And it seems like even some of them would rather be homeless than work a job. So maybe that girl wasn't lying. Maybe some people do dream to be homeless. And if that's your dream, it's not too hard to fulfill it, I guess. It's actually the easiest thing to do because the economy is almost rooting for you. That's the number one way to get the man to root for you, is to root against yourself.
A few people who can actually relate to me with this, but I honestly cannot imagine anything worse than working your average 9 to 5. You wake up every morning, drive to a depressing ass job, do some work literally no one cares about, and then collect your $80 or something $1,000 every single year. That doesn't even get you forward in life. I'm not joking here. I literally had nightmares about this as a kid.
Nightmares
about living a life like this. Even homeless is better because at least you can actually do something and do whatever you want. You don't have money, but you got freedom. And you're $80K a year, 9 to 5. You neither have money nor freedom. It's pretty much the biggest.
Okay, if he's making $80K a year, that's actually not even that bad of income. I mean, I guess it depends on your cost of living and so where you are necessarily living, your like location and all that good shit. But at the same time, he's completely delusional. I mean, I understand what he means though, because I also fear the fact that I might have to hate my life for the rest of forever and just work at some job where I'm making someone else's dream come true. But but then it gets out of the fact is like dreams. Who can afford those? Dreams aren't really on the budget anymore. We're worried about survival these days, folks. And now we're gonna get into some people who don't have options, who didn't just choose to be in the situation. And it's honestly the truth that once you get down to that little like rock bottom where you really don't have much more to lose and you kind of flooded all those different addictions and everything, you understand that like it's kind of hard to get out of that. Like, and also it's not that people who don't have connections ruined all their connections. Now, more so that is the case, but some people just never really had any connections from the start of the game to begin with. It's just like straight off the jump, they were already a few steps behind. So this guy right here, I think his name is Aiden. I could be wrong though. He's been going somewhat viral on TikTok the last few months because he's been getting his life together. He's been struggling with his addictions. He's been in different homeless shelters, and he's been able to get himself a place through the people that he's been able to introduce himself and meet through his church. and he's even been able to score himself a job or two, and he's been using social media as another extra source of income to help get by, which I think is beautiful. So let's get into his story a little bit.
Why is getting on this lease so fucking hard? First of all, the application, it was asking a whole bunch of questions. And I had to lie about my current residence because I'm fucking homeless. And they just sent me a text and hey, so we went over your application and we need the previous 6 months of your rental payments at your current residence. I don't have one. I was going through Airbnb, so quite frankly,
That's the thing,
I
folks.
can't
It's
even.
kind of hard to get a consistent job or a consistent place of residence if you haven't had one in the last 3 to 6 months. Even since I work for myself and I've been doing social media content for the last year, I also have been able to kind of experience this with many like renters not really wanting to accept my PayPal as something, and almost even go to as far as question like, well, are you just concerned about what you're doing and maybe you don't want me to look further into your details? I get paid through literally TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. Like I don't really do anything that's illegal. I just need you guys to understand that I don't have a straight up, last 3 months, and my income isn't just like every 2 weeks. It's once a month or it's random times throughout the week. And if you don't have a place of residence, that's a lot. It's kind of hard for people to really like one send you stuff in the mail. So let's say you need something for work, or track you down. Let's say if something crazy happens.
Give you the receipts if I could. It's impossible. I don't have a current residence. I'm fucking homeless, bro. This makes me want to drink. This makes me want to drink. I'm being real. Some bullshit, bro. Look, I'm just trying not to be homeless, bro. What the fuck is up with this shit?
All right, well, I do appreciate this brother for being very open and honest with the situation, going all out on there online, because it does take a lot of courage to do that. There is definitely judgmental involved, and I'm not putting him on blast. I'm just sharing the true. I'm just showing the true, realistic stories that people have out there that a lot of people can probably relate to. Unfortunately, please let me know down in the comments if you guys can relate to any of this. Because it's very, it's bad times right now. It's crazy times for a lot of people. And here's some more examples where a lot of people don't choose this. They get forced into these types of situations where these 18 residents in this apartment complex got their rent doubled, and they got a 30-day notice. Imagine if your rent just doubled. I would be evicted at almost any place I've ever moved into or lived at. Now I'd be okay, but it'd be not really as sustainable still. It'd definitely ruin everything. I would have to readjust my whole budget. It's not something that many people could live through, even with how much they make.
18 people are homeless because the apartment complex doubled their rent from $950 to $1,800 just so they can get them out because they sold it. And they tried to give them a 30-day notice, but Colorado was like, wait a minute, we have to give 60, but this is just sad and shouldn't even be happening here at all, period.
Almost every single person who lived here at the Meadows Apartments in Buena Vista no longer lives here. After that rent increase, they're basically calling this a mass forced eviction.
So my rent went from $950 a month to $1,800 a month.
Damn.
And we were given 2 days notice that we had a 30-day notice to evacuate.
Which, according to Colorado law, you cannot do. You have to give 60 days notice. Trek Real Estate Company in Colorado Springs walked back their threat, according to tenants, but not the double rent hike.
It is cruel, inhumane, and torture. It's absolute torture.
Deborah Noble was told she and her husband, undergoing cancer treatment right now, would be able to stay on as property managers until Trek changed its mind.
She called me and said that they were not going to honor their agreement with us and that we had to move. So they fired and evicted a cancer patient on the day he was to go home from his last treatment.
Not to mention all of this during the holidays. 18
Man,
people.
what can I tell you? They do not care about you. The people in charge, the people up top, they ain't worried about your health. They ain't worried about your bills, and they definitely ain't worried about your survival. It's up to you to worry about that. So hopefully you got some family or some friends that are like family, because that's kind of all we really got out here anymore these days. It's wild times, man.
Homeless in a tight housing market.
One man still hasn't found a home and has to live with his elderly parents, and he's elderly.
Noble says she was told the new owners are going to redo the apartments, but didn't care how they had to
do you see how tight that space is? Wait, let's go back a little bit. Look at this kitchen right there. 950 for that. I was gonna say 950 actually is a little bit cheap, depending on, I don't know where exact. I think they said Colorado. That's kind of cheap, but 1800 is a wild jump to do that. Usually that would happen over time, over the course of like a few years. But that's, look at how tight that space is. So this is not even really that much space. It's kind of crazy.
I want everybody out. It's perfectly.
The homelessness crisis in America is getting worse. Lawmakers' attempts to fix it are not working, and we need to talk about why. And I say this as reportedly homelessness in the US has reached now an all-time record high. And according to that analysis, just this year so far, there's been a roughly 11% increase in people experiencing homelessness from 2022. That is a massive jump. In fact, so massive that if the trend holds for the rest of the year, it would represent the single biggest increase since the government started tracking comparable numbers more than 15 years ago. Now, as far as what is driving these historic increases, advocates and government officials say the biggest factor is the same one that's been driving up homelessness for years: high housing costs, where the cost of rent across the United States hit a record high last year, with Redfin finding that listed rents for available apartments skyrocketed 15% from the year before nationally. And the same is true for housing prices, which also reached a record high last year. Please understand, this is not me exaggerating. This is not hyperbole.
Man, this is what's happening. People, it's not, they're either choosing to be homeless over housing because the rent increases are just too unbearable, and it's just like almost insulting to a lot of folks, especially if you like know your landlord. Like, you really gotta do this to me, bro? But like at the same time, a lot of people don't choose it. It's forced because they can't make it match their income, and then that ends up affecting their job, and that ends up affecting their overall income, and they just end up being on the streets, and that's why it's an increasing problem. And now they're making it illegal. We're gonna touch on that here next.
Catastrophizing. The Government Accountability Office has estimated that an increase of just $100 in the median U.S. rent is connected to a 9% spike in homelessness. But as America continues to see this unprecedented crisis getting worse and worse, we're also increasingly seeing homelessness policies fail time and time again. And this even as millions, and in some places billions of dollars, are being funneled toward helping fix the problem.
It was just announced today that homelessness is now
That's
illegal.
right, folks. They're now making it illegal to be homeless. So they're not only price gauging you out of your homes. Now, when you pitch up a tent on the side of the corner of the street, they're going to come and they're going to bulldoze that down too. So you're going to lose all your stuff. You're going to own nothing and be happy. Time and time again, almost every video that ends up coming up. It's just sad to say.
Now, the reason this came into effect is because over the past couple years, people have gotten furious. And this was because of this, people just randomly making tents outside and calling that their home. Now, as apparently right now, this was just updated maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, it is now illegal to be homeless in 47 states. From a legislative perspective, it is illegal to be homeless in virtually every state in the US except for Wyoming and Oregon. Now,
you hear that? Now all the homeless people are going to be flocking here. So if you live in these states, you better, hope you don't own a field or nothing, because there's going to be a whole new village coming up. But that is sad, though, honestly. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that, but that they're making this whole thing illegal, especially with the type of economy that we're living in, the type of crisis everybody's in, multiple different crises that I cover commonly on this channel. But, maybe getting locked up's not too, maybe if you got locked up, I know they're making it a crime, it wouldn't be the worst thing, because then you get a place to stay, you get some food, and you get everything funded by the taxpayers that you always like to throw up your middle, that most homeless people anyway, not all of them, I don't want to make a blanket statement, would rather just throw their middle finger up to anyway. So if you want to just shove it to the man, live off the taxpayer dollars, you should just get arrested by being homeless. It's really not that hard, I guess, anymore.
In Oregon. Now, they can try and implement these rules, guys, but let's be real, people are not going to follow these. I mean, I live in Florida, guys, and there's homeless people everywhere, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is very accurate. Now, I mean, on top of all this crazy mess, now you can apparently get arrested in some states for being homeless. And because of that, the Supreme Court will actually decide in a hearing whether local anti-homeless laws are cruel and unusual. But what do you guys think about this? Do we agree or do we oppose? Let me know in the comments.
Now, I do actually kind of understand why people wouldn't want to have like a bunch of tents with a bunch of random people that, let's be honest, a lot of the homeless people aren't in the best position in their lives, so not making the best decisions. And if you have children, if you are in your like retiring years, if you're just doing your day-to-day tasks, you probably don't want that around your house, especially if now that you're paying so much to live where you are, most likely. You want it to be clean around your neighborhood. You want it to be nice. You don't want the HOA to be in your business. And so this is kind of getting down to the facts where it's like, what do you do if you don't have many options? I don't really know what to tell you, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. If you unfortunately relate to anything in this video, or if you just, it's not really too surprising because this is a very common trope around right now, but Anyway, please let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. I appreciate all the love and support around here. Feel free to check out some of my other videos if you like content like this, and if you want to continue seeing my daily uploads, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.